Joining us now, the author of a new book, Never Trust a Liberal Over Three, especially a Republican, good friend of this program, conservative columnist Ann Coulter. How are you, Ann?
Great. Good to talk to you, Brian.
It's always a pleasure. Larry O'Connor here as well. Listen, I want to break some news that is just now crossing. And this comes from one of the most respected reporters in all of Washington. I think you'll agree. Major Garrett, who works over at CBS. He reports in the last few minutes that he is being told that Speaker of the House John Boehner will put forth whatever comes out of the Senate today in the way of a continuing resolution and debt limit deal, put it on the floor of the House, pass it with Republican and Democratic votes, and then it goes back to the Senate for final passage and to the President for his signature. If John Boehner turns to Democrats and a few Republicans to pass this measure, what is the outcome and what happens after that?
I think it's fine. I mean, I know we're all geared up to fight to the last man right now, but I think what these Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and the House Republicans have accomplished so far is so magnificent. I am so proud of them. They have kept the fight against Obamacare alive. We would not have been talking about it for the last 3 weeks without them. I think they played it brilliantly. The real polls and not the fake polls of all adults, which any pollster will tell you is ridiculous. All adults includes people who can't name the vice president. You want polls of likely voters. And in those polls, the respondents are roughly split on whom they blame this on. Or credited with it. So I think this has been really good. I mean, we would not. It has kept hope alive that as soon as Republicans have a majority in the Senate, have 60 votes in the Senate, they will fight to repeal Obamacare. We're not just accepting it as usual. I don't really understand the ins and outs of what would happen if we don't raise the debt ceiling, but that isn't
what happens to Boehner?
That isn't the only leverage we have. There's still that 20% of the government that remains shut down. There is still that leverage on Obamacare. It still won't be funded. and so they can raise the debt ceiling. I mean, yeah, things are bad when you have a Democrat president and a majority Democrat Senate, which is why the first part of my book are out this week. Our fault was to Republicans, saying we have got to be like Democrats in the sense of obsessively concentrating on winning elections right now. Everything comes down to that. We can't do anything unless we win elections.
Yeah, and Ann Coulter, you mentioned your book, Never Trust a Liberal Over Three, especially a Republican. So obviously you're suggesting there that there are a lot of liberal Republicans out there. And I know that you're approaching this, Ann, from the context of a Reagan Republican, which is, right after the 76 election, everyone said, oh, there's going to be a third party because you got your Rockefeller Republicans with Jerry Ford, you got your Reagan Republicans, and these crazy conservatives are going to split the party. That didn't really happen. Reagan was such a great communicator. He ended up bonding everyone together, and he had landslides in the 80s.
Yeah.
But you're hearing now from the conservative side of the party, it seems to me there's a bit of a scorched earth policy here where you're even hearing some of them talk about starting a third party. How destructive is that kind of talk?
Unbelievably destructive. Attacks on the Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, who was the Ted Cruz on campaign finance reform and presided over, the minority Republicans in the Senate when every single Republican, including John McCain and Olympia Snowe and Susan Collins, voted against Obamacare. Mitch McConnell is fantastic. If he doesn't have the power we would like, well, whose fault is that? Who blew the Delaware election and Indiana election and Missouri election? We have to send him Republicans to the Senate if we want a stronger Republican leader in the Senate. And incidentally, many of the similar people went to Ronald Reagan after the 76 election, I believe when it came to speak to CPAC, and specifically asked him to run on a third-party ticket. And he said, no, that's the path to suicide.
Meanwhile, I mean, you listen, Ann Coulter, you bring up Mitch McConnell. I'm getting the same emails you probably are from these groups that say, he's got to be primaried in Kentucky. We got to get rid of this rhino. Again, your book says there are liberal Republicans. I doubt Mitch McConnell was one of them.
No, he has a 100% ACU rating.
All right, so who are you talking about then when you say, I agree with you, I hear you. Who are you talking about then?
Well, certainly John McCain and Lindsey Graham. Yet and still, my general approach is you don't primary your own guys. Once in a while you can do it, and gosh, I just mentioned one whom I think would be ripe for primary.
Lindsey Graham, who is up for primary this coming spring in South Carolina.
Yes, he supported amnesty. He wants to go to war whenever it's pointless, i.e., whenever the Democrats want to go to war. He's a liberal Republican, and he's in a very conservative state. And I think if a South Carolina congressman ran against him, that would be, you only need to take out one, pro-amnesty liberal Republican to, as Voltaire said, to encourage the others. You don't need to take them all out. Lindsey Graham should be the one conservatives focus on, but you don't willy-nilly stage rancorous primary fights that cost the party time, money, energy. I mean, as I mentioned the other night, why on earth is Liz Cheney running against a very conservative Republican in Wyoming? We are in a minority right now. We are fighting to come back. Republicans are always losing close elections, and it's because we end up wasting time trying to save safe Senate seats. The Democrats do not allow their base to do this, and their base is way crazier.
All right.
Well, listen, Ann Coulter, author of the new book, Never Trust a Liberal Over Three, especially a Republican, good friend of this program. Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you. By the way, I'll be in D.C. for a book party next Tuesday.
Yeah, Daily Caller is hosting a book party. I don't have the details, but I guess you can just go to dailycaller.com and get the details next Tuesday. Ann Coulter right here in the nation's capital. Can't wait to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.